meds, and surgery seemed too risky, so she turned to the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics, the leaders in advanced regenerative medicine.
That consultation just changed my life. I can do the treadmill, everything. I don't have anything holding me back. The quality of life is pain-free. QC Kinetics has made us very happy.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today.
I'm going to get emotional again. They are like family members to me. They care.
Call QC Kinetics now.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Jackson Hewitt offers you your biggest refund, guaranteed, or your money back, plus $100. Hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
Dayton sports fans, for more local sports content, make sure to subscribe to Dayton's ESPN Radio YouTube channel. And don't miss the Miami Valley's only local sports talk show, The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 Wing AM.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the Kinner and Kev Show live here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. A little bit of a delayed start today. Thank you for being patient nonetheless, but excited to be with each and every one of you here today on, what is today? It's a Tuesday, right? I don't even know what day it is. All my days are running in to one another. It's been a busy day, but glad to end my day here hanging out with each and every one of you. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio. Kev Nash will join us coming up here momentarily around the corner. We got a full show for you lined up here today. Jay Morrison, he'll join us coming up here in just a little bit. Bengals beat writer. We'll chat with him because of what we're about to open up the show with. Look, you know, I didn't plan on getting into the Bengals offseason stuff today. I feel like we're a little bit away from having to really dive into the offseason plans for the Browns and for the Bengals and others, but here we are. So over the weekend, there was a lot to be made about Deshaun Watson. All right, Deshaun Watson basically did a public recruitment, if you will, to try to get T. Higgins to come to Cleveland. All right. There's all these reports out there, Deshaun Watson making his case for the Browns to sign T. Higgins. He highlighted a couple of the reasons being, of course, that they pass the ball. They're going to pass the ball a lot. And that, Cleveland needs a wide receiver. They need help at wide receiver. Amari Cooper is not the best wide receiver in the AFC North, but he has been the most productive wide receiver in the AFC North the last 2 seasons. He has had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in Cleveland, the first receiver to do so. He's had more yards in the last 2 years, more touchdowns the last 2 years than Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And I'm not sitting here advocating that he is better than those two, but he has been more reliable than those two. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. I mean, he played in pretty much every game this season, even while being a little banged up. T. Higgins misses a lot of games. Jamar Chase misses a lot of games. So that's a little interesting note about, when you think of the Browns, you think of having no wide receivers. Amari Cooper has actually been a very, very good wide receiver for the Browns over the last couple of seasons. But the thing is, they have Amari Cooper, and that's it. They have Amari Cooper, and that's it. I mean, they've drafted David Bell. That has not worked out. Speaking of David Bell, the Reds manager, David Bell, we have our interview with him coming up later on in the program that we had during the Reds Caravan, but that's for later. But you know what I mean? The Reds they drafted David Bell. Donovan Peoples-Jones did not work out. They went out and got Elijah Moore, and Elijah Moore started to really make we saw more production out of him with Joe Flacco late in the season than what we did during his time playing with, Deshaun Watson in those limited times at the beginning. But the bottom line is the receiving core for the Browns is bad. But that is something that I think Browns fans that we need to just accept as far as that's concerned, because I think it's very difficult to financially prioritize the wide receiver position outside of just one wide receiver or one pass catcher when it's all said and done, mainly because if you look around the NFL, that's kind of how this works. That's why, I Bengals fans, you guys are driving me up the dang wall. You don't understand how football works. I know you're new to this. I'm a Browns fan. It's not like I'm experiencing a lot of winning, but I at least pay attention to the league. You guys don't, clearly, because you guys were delusional enough to actually think that you were going to get to keep Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Now, keep in mind, they could tag T this upcoming season, and you'll have Jamar and T for one more season, that's fine. But this idea that you guys were going to keep them long-term together, it's as laughable as a night at the Dayton Funny Bone. I mean, I don't know if I've laughed harder at reading your guys' social media responses, actually thinking that they're going to get a deal done with both of them, or if I go to the Funny Bone on the weekend. I don't know which one of those makes my side hurt more from laughing. It's just ridiculous. You guys don't understand how this works, and it's very obvious. Look around the league. If you look around the National Football League, especially with teams who have quarterbacks that have been paid, there is no team that has 2 elite wide receivers on their roster. Not paid, at least. All right, you could talk about Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Waddle's not paid yet. Tyreek Hill's paid an awful lot of money. They also have not paid their quarterback yet. That's about to change. Dolphins are about to take a step back offensively because they're not going to be able to keep everyone, especially with how expensive Tyreek Hill is. But if you look at the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen paid a lot of money. They got one good receiver, one highly paid wide receiver, and that's Stephon Diggs. Well, why don't they go get more? Gabe Davis is good. Some of these other guys, they're very good complementary wide receivers, but they're not expensive. That's who the Bills are going to be moving forward. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They had Tyreek Hill. Don't you think they would have wanted to keep Tyreek Hill? Why didn't they keep Tyreek Hill? Because they can't afford to keep Tyreek Hill. Because if you keep Tyreek Hill, you can't afford anything on defense. And the whole reason the Chiefs are in this year's Super Bowl is because of that defense. The whole reason they got to last year's and won last year's Super Bowl because of that defense. Because Patrick Mahomes, outside of Travis Kelce, he doesn't have a legitimate wide receiver. He finally, for the first time all season, in the AFC Championship game when they were able to knock off the Ravens, that is the first game all season where the Chiefs did not have one drop from their wide receivers. That's fantastic. That's good for him, but that's not very reliable. But that's kind of the cards you've been dealt because your quarterback took a lot of money. I shouldn't say took a lot of money, but your quarterback cost a lot of money. So Stephon Diggs, that's the one toy that's that Josh Allen gets to play with. All right, you look at Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, that's the one toy that he gets to play with, okay? Continue to go down the list. The Patriots, they're irrelevant. They don't have anything right now. It doesn't matter. The Jets, they're irrelevant. They still have their receivers on rookie deals, even though Aaron Rodgers has paid a lot of money. The Baltimore Ravens, they squandered an opportunity to have big-name wide receivers play in Baltimore when Lamar was on his rookie deal. But guess what? They squandered that. His one legitimate weapon, and it could be Flowers when it's all said and done, but he's on a rookie deal, so hopefully he pans out for them. As a Browns fan and you Bengals fans, we're not hoping for that. But Mark Andrews, a legitimate tight end, that's where they go. That's the premier playmaker that Lamar has to play with and we'll have to play with moving forward, because if they're going to be doing a lot of the Batemans, they're going to be doing a lot of the other stuff. Right? Like it's just, but those aren't reliable. Those aren't legitimate weapons. Once your quarterback's paid, you get one weapon and one weapon only. All right. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't have a quarterback. They don't count in this conversation. The Houston Texans, they're going to be hot for quite some time because I actually think they could afford a T. Higgins because CJ Stroud is an MVP level quarterback and he looked like that as a rookie, and they're going to get 3 more years of him on a cheap rookie deal. They're going to be able to spend a lot of money. They can go get a Derrick Henry. They can go get a T. Higgins, and they could still put a ton of money on that defense. I think Houston's going to be a problem in the AFC for the next couple of seasons, no doubt. Look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have good wide receivers on that crew, but they went out and got Calvin Ridley. You get one legitimate wide receiver, and Calvin Ridley is not the most legitimate of all number 1 wide receivers out there, but a number 1 wide receiver he is. You get one. You get one. All right, the Broncos don't count. The Chiefs, we talked about them. The Chargers, there's a whole reason that they ran into that issue with Keenan Allen and their running back and all that stuff because they couldn't afford to pay all of their play because Justin Herbert got paid. Going down the list, the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott. They would have loved to have kept Amari Cooper a few years ago with CeeDee Lamb. You get one, you keep CeeDee Lamb, you move on from Amari Cooper. Okay? I mean, history just tells you this is common sense. This is how it's worked across the board. The Niners, they don't count because they don't have a max paid quarterback. All right? So the Cincinnati Bengals, if you are a fan that actually is out there going to bed at night, thinking that you are going to get T. Higgins and Jamar Chase long-term, you are delusional. It's embarrassing. You don't know football. Just throwing that out there. You don't know football. You don't understand how this stuff works. And it's sad that you guys actually think that. So I say all of this because the Bengals fandom insecurity was on full display today. Oh, man, you're attacking Bengals fans today. Yes, I am, because you guys irritated me today, and I'm going to take it out. Because I'm annoyed, I'm going to take it out on you. I posted, so Deshaun Watson put out this little recruiting pitch to get T. Higgins to come to Cleveland. Cleveland needs more help at wide receiver. Would I love T. Higgins in Cleveland? Yes, I would. Do I think that Cleveland actually could make it happen? I do. I don't think it would be smart, but they could do it. All right. But the bottom line is that was just put out there. So I put on Facebook, man, Deshaun Watson with Amari Cooper as the number 2 receiver with T as the number 1, and you have Nick Chubb. Oh, by the way, Njoku, I keep forgetting about him because he was a breakout elite tight end last season. I kind of dig it. I kind of like it. But the Bengals fandom insecurity kicked in. One guy said there's just no way that'll happen. Well, there's way. There's always a way. There's no way he would go to Cleveland. Why wouldn't he go to Cleveland? If he had a chance to go to a contending team that has a good offensive line, that has an elite run game, that has an elite pass game, that has a top 3 defense, why wouldn't he want to go to Cleveland? Because his number 1 priority, T. Higgins wants to stay in Cincinnati. That's not happening. He can't do it. It just won't happen unless he's willing to play for peanuts, which we know that's not going to happen. So we know he's going to go somewhere. And if you're going to go somewhere, you want to go to a team that's going to be a contender. You want to go to a team that's going to pay you. You want to go to a team that has a quarterback to throw you the ball. You're going to want to go to a team that's going to have a defense to complement the offense. Cleveland checks off every one of those boxes. So am I contradicting myself? I just said that the Browns have Amari Cooper, and I just talked about all these teams that you get one weapon and you only get one. That's true. You only get one. T coming to Cleveland would most likely mean that the Browns would have to make tough decisions of moving on from somebody else. Amari Cooper, you get number 1 wide receiver numbers and production from a guy for $20 million a year. Losing him to get T, you would get T more expensive, but you would get T for longer. But Amari Cooper's still in his 20s. It's not as if he's super young. It's a decision that the Browns would have to make. But the bottom line is this was just a fun little back and forth. It was just Deshaun Watson throwing something out there. Of course, he has the Clemson ties. Of course, he would want to play with T. Higgins. Why wouldn't he? Players are going to put it out there. They want to play with those guys. Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes didn't want to lose Tyreek Hill, but the Chiefs had to be an adult organization and make a tough decision, and that's why they're a dynasty. That's why they're a dynasty, and that's why the Cincinnati Bengals are going to kind of vanish here in the near future, because you have their general manager saying ridiculous, embarrassingly silly things like, we're not in the habit of making other teams better. Imagine if the Kansas City Chiefs general manager was as dumb as that guy saying something like that. Oh, you know what? We're not in the habit of making other teams better. Hey, Dolphins, why don't you go get your own wide receiver? And you know what the Dolphins said? We're going to get Jalen Waddle, and we're going to get Tyreek Hill as well. I mean, that's what they did. And the Chiefs technically made the Dolphins better, but the Chiefs made themselves unstoppable because now they're a dynasty while the Bengals are over here trying to keep 3 players, max paid contracts, and, they have the worst defense in the league and worst run game in the league. This is just like, Bengals fans, you got to do better. You're better than this. I would like to think you're smarter than this, and I think there's a good chunk of you who are. But for the loud minority of you guys, woof. If life is a relay race, you're only as fast as your slowest runner, and they are holding you back. I am just letting you guys know that right now. T. Higgins, okay, is a hell of a talent, and he wants to be paid hell of a talent money, and he's not going to take less, and he might have to sacrifice playing on the tag this upcoming season. But he ain't gonna be sacrificing anything. He gets to play another full year with Joe Burrow alongside Jamar Chase, of course. He's going to get $22.5 million fully guaranteed. And then he'll go get another big contract because guess what? Jamar's about to be paid. Justin Jefferson about to be paid. I don't put T in that category, but I mean, even if he gets paid just slightly less than they do, we're still talking close to $30 million a year. T going to be just fine. Do I actually think that he's going to be a Cleveland Brown? I do not. Do I think if the Cleveland Browns really wanted to make Deshaun Watson happy and give him T. Higgins that they can get it done? Absolutely. If I want to be, very honest here, if the Cleveland Browns were serious about wanting to go get T. Higgins, they would have to make an adult move. They would have to make a cutthroat move. And they would have to make a cutthroat move that if I'm going to sit here and criticize the Bengals for actually thinking it's smart to pay T. Higgins and Jamar Chase after Joe Burrow's largest contract in NFL history, I have to be honest. I think that the Browns are being pretty delusional as well with this over-romanticizing thing with Nick Chubb. I love Nick Chubb. He is the best running back in the National Football League. But the Browns were still a top 10 running team in football post Nick Chubb. You cannot invest all that money you did into Deshaun Watson to continue to bring Nick Chubb back, giving him that kind of money at the expense of another wide receiver. The Browns got hurt this season towards the end, even though Joe Flacco was throwing the ball all over the place. They still didn't have a reliable wide receiving core. They're bringing practice squad guys up, especially when Elijah Moore is the guy, you're like, man, we're without Elijah Moore. We're screwed. You're screwed. You're screwed even if he wasn't going down, because if that's your second best wide receiver, that's a problem. That's a problem. I have no problem with the Browns kicking the tires on going after T. Higgins, but you can't. My thing is, if you want T. Higgins, move on from Nick Chubb. Move on. I liked Ford. Is Ford Nick Chubb? No. But the thing is, Patrick Mahomes is in the midst of running a dynasty, and he has not had an elite running back. Pacheco's been very good, but that's all you need. You just need a good run game. You don't need an elite run game. You don't need a Derrick Henry. You don't need a Saquon Barkley. You don't need a Nick Chubb. You just need a good run game. And the Browns had a good run game post Nick Chubb being out from week 2 on. Was it as dominant of a run game as what we were used to seeing over the years? No. But the whole reason that the Browns invested so much into Nick Chubb is because they had limitations at quarterback. Now, they had limitations this year, too, until Joe Flacco came in. But when Deshaun was out there, they were still an elite passing team. I mean, was he putting up numbers like a Burrow and a Mahomes? No, but he wasn't putting up numbers like the bottom half of the league either. I'm not even reading some of your comments in there because I know that you guys are doing exactly what got me to this point of doing this segment in the show today, which you can go read the comments in the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, by the way, because we're live there. You can watch the show, tune into the show that way. To sum all of this up, this all started as just a simple, fun little podcast interview that Deshaun Watson did. He put his pitch out there for T. Higgins to come play with him in Cleveland. He would love to reunite with another Clemson Tiger. Now, they never played together in college, but he wanted to unite with another Clemson Tiger. So he put that pitch out there. He put the pitch about, they're going to pass a lot, and he wants to get him the football, and yada, yada, yada. That's it. That's all it was. Networks took off with it. Well, I'm not delusional enough to think that the Browns are going to do that. I think that they would like to. I think that they're going to make the wide receiver position a priority this upcoming offseason, but they are not. With Amari Cooper making $20 million a year at wide receiver, they are not going to go get a receiver at $22 to $25 million a year. You're not going to have a $45 million a year, deal into 2 receivers along with the $45 million a year quarterback as well. That's just what I'm telling you that the Bengals wouldn't do. But the difference between the Bengals and the Browns is the money. Now, a lot of you are saying the Browns don't have any cap space and the Bengals have about $50 million or whatever it is. There's a difference between having a team with money and a team with cap space. The Browns are a team with money. The Bengals are a team with cap space. And the Bengals have to be smart with that cap space. Just because you have $50 million cap space doesn't mean that you're going to spend it all. You have to be smart now with a lot of the I would say about 85 to 90% of Joe Burrow's contract being guaranteed. You have to roll over money from year to year to offset some of that. If not, it will start to hit you hard here in the next couple of years. People keep saying, how do the Browns keep doing this? They gave a fully guaranteed contract to Deshaun Watson. That's because the Browns, they're cash rich. They have money up front, which means they could roll a lot of these deals into annual bonuses, which offsets against the cap, which then gives them the flexibility to go get the Zadarius Smiths and the other guys that they did last offseason. They killed it in free agency last year with Watson's contract, with Nick Chubb's contract, with Myles Garrett's contract. Bottom line is the Browns are not getting T. Higgins. But depending on why they don't get T. Higgins, is where I'll kind of be mentally with this. If they don't get T. Higgins because they need to take that money and they have to give a big increase to Myles Garrett, who deserves it, and they can go get another good wide receiver and still retain some of the weapons on defense, that I'm fine with. But if they don't go get T. Higgins because, we got to bring Nick Chubb back, now I have a problem. That's not prioritizing correctly. I like Nick Chubb, and he means a lot to the city of Cleveland. But if you don't go get more talent, Cleveland, especially to help the pass game because you're going to bring Nick Chubb back, I have a huge problem with that. You don't need to financially prioritize the running back position. You need to prioritize the run game. You don't need to financially prioritize it. There is a difference. And if Cleveland doesn't improve their roster this season because they got to put a bunch of money into the running back position because, it's Nick Chubb, I get I get it. But you got to be cutthroat. Tyreek Hill, Nick Chubb has not done more for Cleveland than what Tyreek Hill did for Kansas City. I love Nick Chubb, but if Kansas City can move on from Tyreek Hill like that, who actually brought them a Super Bowl and didn't just bring them some memories during some down years, I'm sorry, you're not as serious about winning as what I thought you were. I have a lot of friends that are Browns fans. They're probably not very happy with me right now, and that's totally fine. But I just want to see the Browns be cutthroat, and if they show that they're cutthroat, I'll believe that they're actually willing to go that next step to go all in to win a Super Bowl. But if you bring Nick Chubb back and put a bunch of money in that position and then you're weak elsewhere because of that, I have a problem with that. So there, I'm not a homer. I'm going at my team. I'm going at the delusional Bengals fans. There's some smart, intelligent Bengals fans out there. And then there's the other ones that think, we're going to keep T. Higgins too. Laughable. Be better. Do better. 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. Kev will join us here in a little bit, but until then, kind of need a co-host if you guys want to call in and chime in. I feel like arguing. Do you guys feel like arguing? Let's argue. 518-1410. Call into the show. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
We're from Washington. We love Febrez's new scent. Refresh and energize.
So much we made a song about it.
I can't escape this feeling inside. Refresh and energize. It's a mood, it's a vibe. Breathing for the first time. So free, so alive. Breathe happy for free. Smells like paradise. Breathe happy for free. La, 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 la.
The spotted lanternfly is an invasive plant hopper native to Eastern Asia. Today, it's found in 14 states, including Ohio. The beautifully colored insects bring stress to the host plant, often contributing to its decline. Juvenile spotted lanternflies, known as nymphs, and adults prefer to feed on the invasive tree of heaven, but also feed on a wide range of crops, plants, and trees. If you suspect a spotted lanternfly infestation, contact an ISA-certified arborist near you. To learn more, visit trees4ohio.org. That's trees4ohio.org.
Hungry for a great time? Maybe some great food? Then come on down to your neighborhood Submarine House. Try our oven-toasted deli subs, our mouth-watering salads, pizzas, appetizers, and more. And wash them down with a unique selection of craft beers while watching the big game on our big screens. With locations around Dayton, in Columbus, and our newest sports bar in Kettering, you're never far from a Submarine House. Subs, sports, spirits. Submarine House.
I'm Terry Krupp of Laird's Tax and Accounting, serving this area's tax and accounting needs for over 80 years. One of the most rewarding aspects of our jobs as tax preparers is that we have families that have used our services for generations. Laird's Tax and Accounting is a pioneer in our industry, being the first to offer new services. We stand behind your return if the IRS has questions. We know the tax code and can make the difficult task of making your tax filing easier. Relax. Contact us at 937-325-6571. Information at lairdstax.com.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Justin Kinner back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. All right. Let's pick up where we left off, shall we? Again, we're live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Whether you're listening to us on 1410 Wing AM, of course, streaming us live on the iHeartRadio app or wingam.com or Odyssey or TuneIn or wherever you find the show, wherever podcasts are, wherever you stream shows, all that fun stuff. We appreciate that. You give us a little time here in the afternoon, nonetheless. All right, so this headline made the news, headline made the waves over the weekend coming in. And Deshaun Watson wants T. Higgins to jump from the Bengals to the Browns. Bengals receiver T. Higgins has worn an orange helmet for all of his 4-year NFL career. If Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson has his way, Higgins will wear an orange helmet in 2024. This is an article from Pro Football Talk. Of course, Watson appearing on his personal quarterbacks coach podcast with Quincy Avery. He made a pitch for Higgins to leave Cincinnati but not Ohio. We want to pass the ball, Watson says. That's what we're going to do. We're going to pass the ball a lot. We're going to take good care of you. He says the Cleveland fans are going to love you to death. We got the Clemson ties. We ain't get to play with each other, but this is our opportunity. Now, again, it is unknown whether or not the Browns organization would have Higgins on their radar screen if he does become a free agent, of course. While his contract is expiring, the Bengals have exclusive negotiating rights for now, along with the power to apply the franchise tag. Now, Cleveland already has plenty of cash and cap space tied up in pass catchers, of course. Amari Cooper has a salary of $20 million a year and a cap charge of $23 million. Tight end David Njoku counts as another $10 million against the cap next season. Now, this is why I said earlier, difference between cap space and cash. The Browns have a lot of cash. The rich owners, the Haslams, that $20 million from Amari Cooper, if they wanted to make room for T. Higgins, they would make room. They would make room. It's the same thing they did last year. It's the same way that they spent all of that money last offseason and still had $30 million left. It's because it's just the rollover. It's just the signing bonus, restructuring deals, kicking the can down the road. But ultimately what ends up happening is when a player gets a little bit towards the end or you need to move on, you ultimately end up trading one. I think Amari Cooper, I don't think he'll be traded this offseason, but I could see him being traded a year from now. We'll see what happens as far as that goes. Amari's not a young wide receiver, or not an old wide receiver by any means. Nonetheless, but it's interesting. And again, I bring this up and we're wrapping up this conversation with this because I do want to move on to a couple other things. When you post this, the insecurity of Bengals fans coming out in full force, getting mad at this story is kind of insane. And then the dumb comments that come with it is just strange to me. Like this one, Mark Smith. In fact, if there was I like Mark, but I mean, if there was ever a championship belt for the guy that leads the show in ridiculous comments, I think he would be the undisputed champion. All right. Mark Smith says Higgins isn't going to play for those bums. Okay. I mean, when you're a last place team in a division, can you really call anyone ahead of you bums? I'm curious about that. I just want to know. Bottom line is a lot more came out today of there's no way the Bengals are letting him go. Way. There's no way they're going to let T. Higgins go. There's a way. The Kansas City Chiefs let Tyreek Hill go, and he actually brought a Super Bowl to Kansas City. T. Higgins almost brought one. Now, that's not a shot at T. Higgins, but I'm just saying there are teams who actually have won Super Bowls that have a core that they would love to continue to keep together, to continue winning with. And those professional organizations with adults running the organization have had to make adult decisions and mature decisions. And that's why the Chiefs moved on from Tyreek Hill. And here they are. They've moved on from Tyreek Hill. You would think that they would get worse. No, in fact, they're back-to-back. They're in the Super Bowl back-to-back years. They won it last year. They're looking to win their second straight Super Bowl, their third overall since this core got together. In fact, the fact that they could potentially win 2 Super Bowls without Tyreek Hill just shows you that if the quarterback is as good as what you guys say he is, you don't need the big-time pass catchers. In fact, I've been one on this show on many occasions saying that if the Bengals were actually smart, the better business decision is keeping T. Higgins over Jamar Chase. Keeping T. Higgins over Jamar Chase. T. Higgins will not cost as much as Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is an elite wide receiver. Is he better than Jamar? I don't think so. But because Jamar's elite and super elite, that comes with a heavier price tag. So to keep a heavier price tagged legitimate wide receiver in Jamar Chase, there has been no team, and I've said this on many occasions, there is not, in the history of the NFL, there has never been a team with the highest paid quarterback and the highest paid wide receiver in the National Football League paired up together. It's never happened. Could it happen? Potentially. But at the expense of what? The Bengals going to have the highest paid quarterback and wide receiver in the NFL on the same roster? That same roster that also has the worst defense in the NFL. Second worst defense in the NFL. The same roster that has the second worst run game in the National Football League. That roster that has put about $40 million a year into their offensive line and is still mid on a good day. That roster. Like at some point, I get what Duke Tobin was trying to say when I'm not in the habit of making other teams better. Well, here's a habit for you. Get in the habit of making your team better. because your team right now has a lot of holes, and wide receiver's not one of them. Even losing Tyler Boyd, still don't have holes at wide receiver. If you lose Jamar Chase and you only have T. Higgins, you still don't have holes at wide receiver. If you lose T. Higgins and only have Jamar Chase, you don't have holes at wide receiver. What the Bengals will become with just one or the other is what the other teams are across the board with their paid quarterbacks. Josh Allen has Stephon Diggs. That's it. Patrick Mahomes has has Travis Kelce. That's it. Right? Like, I mean, you look at Dak Prescott, who's paid a lot of money. He has CeeDee Lamb. That's it. Like, you only get, when you are a max paid, when you are a quarterback who gets every dollar that's coming to them, you get one toy to play with. So this was never going to happen, keeping both. Now, I will say, he's not going, if you ask me how I really feel about what's going to happen, I think the Bengals ultimately tag him, but the reason it's hard to guarantee that as well is because they have about $50 million cap space, 21.5 or 22.5. You take 50, you take that away from that 50. Now you just have just under 30 to play with. You'd have just under 30 mil to play with to fix the worst defense or second worst defense in the NFL and the second to worst run game in the NFL. Is keeping T. Higgins that much of a priority? Is keeping T. Higgins that much of a priority, especially when you know you're not going to extend him after this season? To me, if the Bengals were really good defensively last year, if they had a top, let's say, 15 run game in the NFL last year, I say by all means, tag the hell out of T. Higgins and go for one more push. But you have way too many holes, way too many flaws, and you're running out of time. I said this 2 years ago. I said last year when the Bengals made it to the AFC Championship game, and you guys laughed at me. I said the Bengals have to win that game against the Chiefs because that's the best roster that Burrow will ever play on. Burrow will never play on a roster better than last year. And I was right, because this defense was bad. The run game was bad. Joe Burrow couldn't stay healthy. T and Jamar couldn't stay healthy. The run game, I mean, we talked about this. So the bottom line is at the end of the day, when Joe Burrow comes back this upcoming season, you're already without Tyler Boyd. You're probably moving on from Mike Hilton. All right, DJ Reader's probably gone. And those are two really good defensive players on a really, really bad defense. So you're already, once again, behind the eight ball. Like, you're already getting worse. So to me, you're not extending T. Higgins. So just rip that Band-Aid off, take that 22.5 mil that you're going to give to one player and go get reinforcements on the defense. If Joe Burrow is who you guys say he is, the guy can walk on water, right? He can cure cancer. He could do all these great things, right? It's Joey B, baby. If he's as good as you say, you don't need T. Higgins. You just don't. You want him. Wants and needs are two different things. Okay? You want T. Higgins. You don't need him. And the example is, look at the team, look at the Kansas City Chiefs. You guys say you're on the same playing ground as them. You're not, but you say you are. Well, if you are, you truly believe that, then you would be fine if the Bengals made the decision to move on from T. Higgins, because look at what Patrick Mahomes is doing. He has Travis Kelce, who has actually been a shadow of himself a little bit. He hasn't even been elite Travis Kelce this year. That's all he has had on the offensive side of the ball. What's actually been the secret to the Mahomes success the last 2 years has been that defense. And the reason that they've had the success on defense is because they didn't invest heavily into the offense. They put some big dollars into a couple guys on the O-line to protect Mahomes. They paid Mahomes and they paid Travis Kelce. Well, the Bengals have already put a lot of money in the OL, $40 million to be exact. All right, you have Jamar Chase. That's going to be the guy that you marry long-term. Move on from T. Higgins and put that money on the defensive side of the ball. You want to be the Kansas City Chiefs? Let Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase be the connection that is Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and let the defense do the rest of the heavy lifting. That's why the Chiefs are here, and that's why the Bengals are at home, and that's why the Bengals will continue to be at home on the biggest weekend of the NFL season every year, because they won't have enough reinforcements to fix that defense. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. It's the Kenner and Kev Show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Mark Smith says the hate is real for the Browns, just like you hate the Bengals with all of your shady comments. What did I say that was shady exactly? Mark, I think your problem is when I use facts, it bothers you because you know deep down I'm right. Just like I was right about last year. And I was right about the year before. Like, you know I'm right. The Bengals have not made the best decisions ever since they made a lot of good decisions, a lot of good drafting decisions, but they haven't followed it up with good decisions since then. I mean, it's just the reality of it. Gordon Gross on Facebook says the Bengals rolled the dice on letting both safeties leave. Dax Hill and Nick Scott, rated 2 of the worst safeties in the league per Pro Football Focus. Cost their defense big time. Exactly. The defense getting worse. The roster getting worse. And I love when people say, well, they didn't need, Bates and them because they got Hill and they got these other guys. Just because you replace them with names doesn't mean that those names are good. And Dax Hill might turn into something good. He's a hard-hitting guy. I get that. But clearly the results aren't there. They're not there. Like, it is what it is, man. You guys are unbelievable. Doug Toby says, really? And Cleveland has 26 free agents. Good luck. They're bringing pretty much the majority of their impact guys back. And guess what, Doug? They have money. You guys don't. What do you? Don't worry about the Browns. What are the why is that always a counter with you? Why do you guys do that? It's kind of embarrassing. I feel bad for you. I really do, because every time we talk about your Bengals, and by the way, Lance McAllister, he's also talking about the Bengals' upcoming offseason moves. I mean, do you guys act brain dead with him too and go over there and say, what about the Browns? No, you don't. You listen to him because he's saying the same things I am, but you just don't like me because I'm a Browns fan. Coming at me with the Browns. I mentioned a Browns problem, and what do? You counter, or I mentioned a Bengals problem. What do? Yeah, well, we're bad at defense, but what are the Browns going to do with other free agents that they're losing? What does that do? What does that matter? If the Browns fall off a cliff, does that make your defense better? It might for 2 games a year. Again, be better, be smarter. Come back with something better, please. All right. Tyler, what up, Tyler? Tyler Cooney on YouTube says Kinner 2, Mark Smith 0. Yeah, exactly. I'm used to that. It's a boring win. But somebody has to do it. All right, let's see what else. Gordon Gross says the Browns should go after Diggs. He seems unhappy in Buffalo. If they go after Diggs, it'd be the same thing. That's been talked about too. It's the same thing with T. It's just going to be what decisions they make. It's just what priorities, how they prioritize their money as far as that's concerned. Brian Hetzel, what up, Brian? Brian says Higgins will go to the Texans. They can offer more money than Cleveland, and the Texans have a better quarterback. I will say, if Higgins ends up in Cleveland, he's not taking less money to go to Cleveland. So I know what you mean by the Texans have more money. They do have more money, but I think if he goes to Cleveland, he will get the same amount of money in Cleveland that he would get in Houston. But that's why I don't think he's going to Cleveland. It would shock me if that's the case. But because this got out there, I wanted to talk about it today as far as that's concerned. But all right, good stuff. Appreciate everybody. Mark Smith, come on now, be nice. There's no need to start, getting angry in the chat. It's Kenner Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
Okay, everyone gather around. I have some exciting
Running her shoe factory, Kendra talks the talk and walks the walk.
We're switching to green energy.
She needs a biotech consultant to erase her carbon footprint.
All operations will net zero emissions.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
O'Reilly. Did you know 1 in 4 car batteries is weak and needs to be replaced? O'Reilly Auto Parts will test your battery for free. If your battery needs to be replaced, our professional parts people can help you find the right Super Start battery for your vehicle and budget. Don't wait. Get your battery tested for free today at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Tax season is here, and I'm sure you're thinking, who's going to do my taxes? Try my friends at Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle. Call Michael and Justin today at 937-543-5770. They're ready to serve you at 113 West Jefferson Street in New Carlisle. At Arrowhead Tax Service, they give back to the community through athletics and nonprofits. At Arrowhead Tax Service, all new clients save 10% off online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where their target is your satisfaction.
Strong enough for a Mastiff, gentle enough for a Chihuahua. Invisible Fence brand is more than a fence with hands-on training and exclusive solutions to give your pet more room to run. Learn more at invisiblefence.com.
Cordell Transportation has more advantages than ever before, including brand new equipment. That's right, plus excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply now at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many foot problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Looking for sweet heat that's hard to beat? Head to Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and try the Hot Honey Chicken Sandwich, here for a limited time. This all-new sandwich features our famous hand-breaded, pressure-cooked chicken breast covered in Mike's Hot Honey on a brioche bun. It's the chicken sandwich made sweeter and spicier. Discover the craveable flavor that can only happen when Mike's Hot Honey meets Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Pick up an irresistible Hot Honey Chicken Sandwich today. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Need legal help? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Have you heard about our new help center? It's located at the Montgomery County Courthouse, providing legal information and forms. And we also share programs and resources that may be available to you. Let us help you navigate the court system. Visit us online at courthouse2u.com for more info.
Shop the closeout event now at Lowe's with big savings on the appliances you need now. Lowe's knows home improvement. Shop the closeout event now at Lowe's.
All right, Kev's back, so I got to behave now.
Oh, boy. What did you do?
I didn't do anything. Mark Smith started it.
I doubt it.
No, he really did. He did. And I have people in the chat saying Kinner 1, Mark Smith 0. Actually, they gave me 2 points. Kinner 2.
Wow.
Mark Smith 0. So, no, I just, Bengals fans insecurities. Started out as an innocent post today. So, Deshaun Watson trying to recruit T to Cleveland.
Tampering.
And
is there tampering in it?
That's what I don't know, because we hear players say that all the time, but actually that's pretty
NBA is definitely tampering.
Yeah. Well, so I posted that today and I'm like, oh man, T, Watson putting it out there. He wants to play with T. I'm like, man, Watson playing with T, playing with Amari and Njoku and Chubb. I'm like, I dig it. I like that idea. Now, do I expect Bengals fans to be happy with that? No, or anything like that. But right away, the arrogant, not going to happen. Never going to happen. I'm like, well, hold on. A scale of 1 to 10, I think it's like a 3 of it actually possibly happening. But don't be foolish enough to say 0. Like, if players want something bad enough and they'll position their organizations to go do what they will. Now, to be fair, I have seen Deshaun tried to get his way a lot with Cleveland as far as wanting to go get DeAndre Hopkins. They didn't do it. Watson puts it out there a lot to what players he wants to play with. And to be honest, like the Browns have not gone above and beyond to go get the guys that he wants to play with. He wanted he wanted to play with OBJ. I'm glad they didn't do that. Some of these could be players not wanting to come to Cleveland too. I'm not going to sit there and say that that's the case, but just doing this arrogant that they can't keep T. So why does it matter where he goes to play? Oh no, the Bengals won't let that happen. They won't let him go. What are you talking about? If he walks, he can walk wherever he wants. Now they'll have control of the trade situation and all that type of stuff. And who knows? But again, it's all a pointless conversation because on a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a 3 of T actually going to Cleveland because I can't afford it. There's a lot of wide receivers that Cleveland would love to have to pair up with Amari Cooper, but he's going to get at least demand 25 to 28 mil. You're already giving Amari 20 mil a year. You can't go get another receiver of that price unless they restructure deals, which, to be fair, they've shown that they're willing to do, and they're a cash-rich organization. They could definitely do it. We're repeating this one more time just because Kev just sat down, but now that we're bringing you into the fold,
I had the nerve not to be here.
No, you were lucky. You were lucky.
No, so this whole look, man, all players want to play with good players because it makes their job easier, makes their job more fun. I mean, when you go play pickup basketball, you're going to pick the worst players or you're going to pick the best players. You're going to pick the best players so you can continue to win. So him talking about T. Higgins is awesome, but the reality of the situation is the Bengals hold all the cards. Like, hey, man, we could just simply tag them, and that's what 9 times out of 10 is going to happen. I doubt very seriously that they're able to come to a contract agreement for the upcoming season. I think the way that he plays for the Cincinnati Bengals is on the tag. And then I think they can tag him again after that. Now that number will be even crazier than the 1-year tag, but technically it's still possible. And 9 times out of 10, when it comes to that second tag, the guys work out a deal or they're traded. So if, just say for instance, if the Cleveland Browns are the destination for T. Higgins, it's not like he's going to be walking for nothing. It isn't like he's an unrestricted free agent and the Cincinnati Bengals can't get anything in return. So like the Cleveland Browns will have to give up a lot of picks to get him, have to give up, I don't think they have any first round picks this year. So they probably have to give up like a first rounder and a third rounder next year in order to get T. Higgins. So Bengals fans, relax. I think that T. Higgins is still going to be with the team. Not that my thought process matters any. I mean, it's not going to help them retain him. But, I mean, that's just the way it goes in the NFL, man. That's what makes this game so great. One team can be in the dumpsters 1 year and be playing in the Super Bowl or their championship game the next year. I mean, look at the Lions. 2 years ago, did we ever think the Lions would be playing for the NFC Championship crown? Will we ever think they would be up 24-7 at halftime over the San Francisco 49ers, almost on their way to the Super Bowl? Like, nobody had thought that. Like, these things turn around very fast. So if you do trade him, you're going to get good value for him. So it wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah, 22 or 22.5 mil against the cap. They have about 50 mil to spend. So you cut that in half if you bring him back. I've said before, if they have a top 15 defense and they have a top 10 run game, I say you risk it. And I said that even a couple months ago. I'm like, no, you got to be aggressive and bring him back. But with the way the season ended, with the second worst defense and the second worst run game, you have a lot of holes that you have to fill. And that's a lot of holes to fill even with 50 mil. And now you cut that in half. So now you got to try to find a way to find reinforcements for a defense that was the second worst in the NFL with $27 million. And, the run game's not as hard to fix. You just got to hit on some draft picks and that type of stuff, hopefully. But again, it's a lot of hope. Hope is not a game plan. All right. So that they have to have a game plan for that. They're also going to lose Mike Hilton. They're also going to lose a DJ Reader and some guys. Again, that's not actually been guaranteed, but I mean, they've basically talked all season. They're going to lose a lot of those older vets as far as that goes and plug those with some rookies. So now your hope is rookies come in and play at a high enough level, better than Hilton. You hope that a rookie comes in and is a run stuffer better than a DJ Reader. Like that's what I would be concerned about as a Bengals fan, because you look around, if you just look at the Chiefs and everyone says Joe Burrow is as good as Patrick Mahomes. Well, if he is, then you've paid him. You got to trust him to be Patrick Mahomes. You got to trust it. And by the way, he still has Jamar Chase. I just think T has a lot more value to the Bengals off this roster than he does to the Bengals on this roster. They've lost a Super Bowl with T, and they've lost an AFC game with T. They've missed the playoffs with T. That's not a shot at him, but this idea that you need him this season, you want him, you don't need him. They have way too many needs, and wide receivers just not one of them. Even with losing Tyler Boyd, the Bengals have always been historically known as a franchise that drafts really good wide receivers. I just think you need to trust your strengths and address your weaknesses. And if you don't trust your quarterback, who you just made the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, to still play at a high level without T and Boyd, then what are you doing? And he is good enough to do that, by the way. He is. Like, I'm a hater, right? He's good enough to do that. I just think it's a mistake to bring T back even on the tag, because of the deficiencies on the defensive side of the ball in the run game.
Tag them.
Tag your it.
Tag them. I would tag them. I would roll the dice. I would roll the dice with a high-power offense and go young on defense. I've been saying that for the longest. It's hard to have two top-tier wide receivers and the top-tier quarterback. I mean, there's plenty of teams out here. Either one side of the ball is going to be younger than the other side of the ball. That's just how it works. It's basically depends on how you want to work things. I mean, you look at the team that I follow, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had 4 rookies starting on defense last year. They were the only team outside of the Kansas City Chiefs to hold the Ravens to 10 points. I mean, you just got to hit. Like, now that's a totally different discussion. Are you going to hit on your draft picks? I mean, that's a totally different discussion. I would go young, and it's been proven in this league that rookies can come in and make an instant impact.
Yeah, and hope. Just hope. But even with the bad defense, they won 9 games, missed the playoffs by a game. There could be that mindset too. But again, like I said, T, to me, has more value off the team because of what he would bring if you trade him. Just the draft picks saves you the money. Not tagging T and letting him go, that $22.5 million, the 2, whether it's a linebacker, whether it's a pass rusher, whether it's the guy you get on that defensive side of the ball that elevates that defense, that to me is more valuable than just another weapon that Burrow. I mean, Burrow's he should elevate those around him. But you're right. I'm on both sides on this. I if I'm a Bengals fan, I don't want them to get rid of T either, even at the expense of improving the defense as far as that goes. But no, I said, look around the league, teams with the quarterback that is paid, you get one toy. You get one elite weapon. Dak Prescott has CeeDee Lamb. That's it. All right. I don't
think CeeDee has been paid yet.
He hasn't?
I don't think so.
I guess he just came out of Oklahoma. But either way,
he was in the same draft as Justin Jefferson.
But they moved on from Amari Cooper because to pay Dak, but yes, for that same, to free up money to pay a younger receiver when it came time to pay him. You look at Josh Allen, he gets Stephon Diggs. All right, you look at Tua. Now Tua's different. Tua has not been paid yet, so he gets Waddle and Tyreek Hill. But once they pay Tua, I'm fascinated to see what they do with him this upcoming offseason. They're kind of in a tricky spot too. Just tag him again. Tag your it. I mean, there's a lot of childish games being played in the NFL. A lot of tag going on this upcoming offseason. But, you get Patrick Mahomes, you get one. You don't get Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, you get one, and they kept one. So that's where the Browns are at. That's why I don't think they're going to go get another big-name wide receiver. They have to go get a slot receiver. They have to go get a talented number 2. All right, but you have Amari Cooper. That's your one toy. And they're lucky to have Njoku as well. And Njoku kind of emerged as a star this season, Kev. He was putting up top 5 tight end, stats this season and was actually putting up elite level stats, especially during that little run with Joe Flacco towards that last month of the season.
Indeed. He calmed down on the drops, even though he had a couple, but before, he was out there stone hands in it, but he had an elite year. And I mean, not to mention that he suffered 3rd-degree burns on his face and his hands and still played football that same Sunday. He's a warrior for sure.
All right. It's the Kinner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Jay Morrison, Pro Football Talk. Bengals fans, don't worry. We're bringing a Bengals guy here, so we could stop, bashing your team. Kev's not really, but everything I say is what it is. Jay Morrison, Pro Football Talk. Let's talk about the Bengals. Let's talk about what to expect with T. Higgins, new offensive coordinator. What does that mean for the Bengals? We'll talk about all of that. Jay Morrison next.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The forecast says cloudy skies, chance of rain and snow tonight and 34. Wednesday, it's cloudy and a high of 42. Thursday, mostly sunny and a high of 50. I'm Rick Shrimp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
The spotted lanternfly is an invasive plant hopper native to Eastern Asia. Today, it's found in 14 states, including Ohio. The beautifully colored insects bring stress to the host plant, often contributing to its decline. Juvenile spotted lanternflies, known as nymphs, and adults prefer to feed on the invasive tree of heaven, but also feed on a wide range of crops, plants, and trees. If you suspect a spotted lanternfly infestation, contact an ISA-certified arborist near you. To learn more, visit trees4ohio.org. That's trees4ohio.org.
Have you heard? Bath Creations has moved to their new location and showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton. This gives you even more opportunity to see the incredible amenities and craftsmanship Bath Creation offers. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful, modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or online at mybathcreations.com and get a new bath today.
Getting your biggest tax refund from Jackson Hewitt can lead to some spirited reactions.
Jackson Hewitt!
Jackson Hewitt is so sure that you'll get your biggest refund that if they don't, you get your money back plus $100.
Jackson Hewitt!
And Jackson Hewitt also guarantees the accuracy of your return for life. So don't just sit there. For your biggest refund guaranteed, walk into a Jackson Hewitt today and dance out Jackson Hewitt! Yeah!
You know, I grew up hearing that women are bad with money. But like many of you, I spent years paying bills, managing checking accounts, and taking care of my family. So turns out women are pretty good with money after all. And now I'm taking control of my financial future by saving for retirement. It's never too late to start, and there's a great website to help you. Check out WeSaySaveIt.org and jumpstart your retirement savings on your budget and your timeline. That's WeSaySaveIt.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Cordell Transportation has more advantages than ever before, including brand new equipment. That's right, plus excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply now at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Feeling trapped with that old phone? Don't. Getting a new phone is easy. Come into Verizon and get one of our best phones on us with Select Trade-In on Unlimited Ultimate Plan and get a plan that helps you save by only paying for what you need. Act now and get a brand new phone at your Verizon store today. $999.99 device payment or full retail purchase with new smartphone line on Unlimited Ultimate Plan required. Less up to $1,000 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR. Trade-in conditions apply.
Get the appliances you need right away at Lowe's. Explore the largest assortment of brands you trust, like Whirlpool, Samsung, and LG, in-store or online at the best values. Plus, take advantage of our everyday financing offers on top items, from refrigerators to laundry pairs. And there's more. Get your new appliances delivered or installed quickly at your convenience. Because Lowe's knows appliances. Lowe's knows home improvement. Subject to credit approval.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We're Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're also Dayton's radio home for Ohio State football and basketball. Ohio State basketball back out on the hardwood here tonight, 7 o'clock. The tip-off, 6:15 coverage begins. A ranked team, Illinois. The Buckeyes at a 2-3 game skid right now, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
Not been pretty. We're watching the end of the Chris Holtman era flash before our eyes.
Yeah, man, and some of the stuff that like people like hold on to about like the Big Ten being, you know, the tough basketball conference. It's only 3 ranked teams this year, so.
So are you saying if a team is not ranked, they're not any good? So teams should, if you're ranked, you should dominate teams who don't have a number in front of them, Kevin? You said the Big Ten's not good just because they don't have top 25 teams?
No, I'm just saying like that's a talking point some people like to hold on to. Like, oh, well, they're losing because they've got all these ranked teams they play every single week. Well, now that they're not playing those ranked teams, they're still losing. So now what?
Well, I'm one of those. And look, here's the thing. I think that plays a role. I mean, you have to be playing perfect basketball all the time when you're in the Big Ten, more years than not. This year, obviously not as strong as others. But forget you, Kev. We'll get into that later. Let's talk.
You're not liking me this week because I'm bringing it up. You're
in a cranky mood today. You had to record a couple spots. You had to help a lady on her phone. It was like,
we have Jay on the line. I'm sure he doesn't want to hear about me recording 5 different commercials in a studio that was 95 degrees. I'm sure he doesn't want to hear about that.
Fair
60-second spots at that.
Fair enough. We have Jay on the line. Stop talking about your spot.
Just saying, wasn't a good day.
It was a great day. Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, awesome enough to give us some time, covers the Cincinnati Bengals. Jay, thank you for bringing a little normalcy to the show. Appreciate your time today.
You know what former Bengals quarterback David Klingler used to say about problems?
Can you say it on the air?
Yeah. Half the people don't care that I've got them, and the other half are glad I've got them.
Facts. That is a fact.
Well, do you hear that, Kev? Stop your complaining. How about that? Speaking of complaining, lots of complaining. A lot of Bengals fans upset. They're worried. Not only upset, but they are worried about, this offseason is going to be a fascinating one for the Bengals, especially after last year. Joe Burrow gets paid and taken care of. So that's the biggest domino, obviously. But Jay, right now, a lot of people, they're really focused in on T. Higgins. What are they going to do with T. Higgins? It just makes sense that they tag him and bring him back for another year. But then when you look at the deficiencies on the defensive side of the ball and the running game, you can make an argument that the money that you could tag him with could be used to help with reinforcements on that side of the ball. There's so many different directions to go with this, but you're locked in with this team. What is your vibe right now regarding the Cincinnati Bengals and the direction that they are most likely going to go in when it comes to T. Higgins?
Yeah, I fully expect there to be a tag. T's not going to like it. He may not sign it right away, but he's eventually going to sign it. I mean, he's not going to give up $21 million guaranteed. If he does that, all he does is delay his trip into free agency by a year, because they could turn around and tag him next year at this time too. They have, if you go by straight money, they have about $65 million under the cap. He's going to be about 21. That's a third of your budget right there. Realistically, the way the Bengals do their math and how they hold money back for certain things, they've probably got about $42 million to spend this offseason. So that's about half of what T would cost. It's still $21 million you can find some solid pieces on the defense. They've got 9 picks this year instead of just 7 like last year. And the whole tagging him, I know some people talk about tag and trade. I just don't see that happening either, because if you trade him, yeah, you'll get a little bit more. But if you just tag him, let him play it out, let him walk next year, then you're still getting a 3rd-round pick for him, a compensatory pick, and you got an extra season out of him, and you keep Jamar and T together for one more year and really have this run at a possible Super Bowl.
So let's just say in this world that the Bengals do trade T. Higgins, what type of haul do you think they would get for him?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question, because, if you do it before the draft, I mean, people get crazy. They see what they want, and you see it all the time, these deals they offer for quarterbacks. And so is it a pre-draft trade? Is it a post-draft trade? I'm not sure. A 2 and a 3, I think, is realistic. But it's, who knows? Someone could come in and offer a 1. He's very much coveted in the league. But I mean, we saw it again this year. He's durability is becoming a question with him. There always seems to be something that's bothering him, and he's missing games here and there. It's never been a catastrophic injury that's kept him out for a super long time. But I do think that might give teams some pause. But it's really hard to say what a team will offer, because everybody sees it differently.
Yeah, and this is a deep wide receiver draft too. Obviously, Marv, you got Ron Maduzier, you got Neighbors from LSU, you got Keon Coleman. So it isn't like there aren't some star receivers in this draft that they could kind of reset everything with if they were to actually trade T. Higgins. Yeah,
that's a great point. And I just go back to last year at the Combine when there was these rumors about T being traded, and Duke Tobin, the director of player personnel, standing up there and saying, if you want a receiver, go get your own. We like T. Higgins. We're keeping T. Higgins. I would not be surprised to hear him repeat that line at the Combine in a couple weeks.
But see, that Combine, because as a hater, I hear those comments and I use it against them, because there was more to that comment when he said, well, I'm not in the habit of making other teams better. I don't look at it that way. A lot of time, the Kansas City Chiefs, they had to move on from Tyreek Hill. They would have loved to have kept Tyreek Hill, but if they didn't move on from Tyreek Hill, they're not in this dynasty run right now, because they have these weapons on defense that they were able to get because of that Tyreek Hill move. I don't look at it as making other teams better. It's reinforcing their team and making their team better. I feel like people like me and the haters out there, they're going to use that comment against him when he says, hey, I'm not in the habit of making other teams better. Well, when it's time to make another team better, to make their team better, that will be used against him.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a good point if you're talking about a long-term deal for T. I don't see that in the picture. I don't know how the Bengals can afford it. I don't know how you can justify having that much money wrapped up in the wide receiver position when you've also got all that money wrapped up in Joe Burrow. But for 1 year, for $21 million, and Burrow's, he takes Burrow's contract it gets bigger this year, but it's still not the massive. It's an incremental step up. So you still have some flexibility this year. It's going to get harder the deeper you get into Burrow's contract, and for what the dynamic that T brings, I just think it makes sense to pay the franchise tag, $21 million. Like I said, he's not going to like it, but the team has all the leverage here.
How much sway does Joe Burrow have in this decision from the Cincinnati Bengals?
That's really interesting because he does have some input. I think he has a lot more say in the X's and O's as opposed to the personnel side of things. But he made some comments when he sat up there the day after the season and said that these things were discussed when he was signing his contract. Now, is it pat him on the back? We're gonna try to do whatever we can do to keep this team together, or was there some real assurance there? Was there some numbers crunching and hey, you give up this and then we'll slide that into a package for T? I don't know. I don't know how those discussions went, but I do think the Bengals would like to keep T. Higgins long term. I don't know that they're going to offer him enough money for him to want to stay. He wants to be a number one somewhere. That's never going to be the case here. So you would almost have to overpay what he wants to have him stay here. And I don't know how they can afford to keep both him and Chase long term.
Oh, sorry. Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, Pro Football Talk with us here again. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio. 1410 Wing AM. I'm about to ask about the GM, Kev. So if you have,
I just have one last question
Yep.
about T and this whole situation. From this beginning of the season, I've been saying this, and I kind of feel like this is how it always goes with players that are going into this year. They're gonna get offered the franchise tag. Players not gonna be happy. Players not gonna sign a franchise tag. Players gonna eventually sign the franchise tag. Basically, like 2 or 3 weeks before the season starts, player comes into camp. He's in great shape for the normal people, but not in football shape. Player signs the contract, pulls a hamstring, is very limited in practice, very questionable going into week 1. What's your thoughts? Is that probably what's going to happen?
I think it's a legitimate concern, but he's had hamstring issues in the past. I think he would be smart enough, and I think the Bengals would be smart enough. Number one, he will do everything he can to stay in shape, even if he's staying away from the team and holding out during camp. He's going to do everything he can to be as much in football shape as he can. And when he does report, I don't think the Bengals are going to throw him in full speed. I think they will bring him along slowly, not have him running go balls right off the first practice as soon as he comes back.
Go get it, man. Go maul somebody.
Yeah. So, and that was kind of T's rookie year. He came in and he was dealing with the soft tissue stuff, and it held him back a little bit in that first camp. So, yeah, I think that both sides will be smart about that. There's no way you can prevent it entirely, but the Bengals have been really good about that, about the way they manage things in the off season and just getting to the starting line. And maybe that's part of the reason they start slow every year, is because they're not going that hard in camp. But the end goal of being healthy at the end of the year has typically been in their favor, one Joseph Lee Burrow excluded.
Jay Morrison with us here, and we're talking Bengals, of course. And before we get to the GM, the GM change, sorry, the offensive. I don't know why I said GM. The offensive coordinator change. My apologies. But the draft coming up. I love that chime. It's almost that time of the season, of course, nonetheless. But with that being said, is there any again, as the roster starts to change a bit, Tyler Boyd out, this might be the last season with T coming up, as we've discussed. We watched the Chiefs change structurally as far as how their roster looks over the years. And now it's Patrick Mahomes and it's tight end centric, right? We're balanced with the run game. Obviously wide receiver heavy, a high, big time pass attack for the Cincinnati Bengals with all these receivers. but I keep, seeing a lot of fans and a lot of media talk about tight end. Do you think that there'll be more of a shift of focus to really locking in on a big playmaking tight end, or just whether it's a blocking tight end or a playmaking tight end? I know that they've added some over the years, obviously losing hurt a couple of seasons ago, but do you think that's going to be an emphasis in this draft coming up, especially with Bowers coming out, from Georgia and others? Do you think that that's going to be a priority for them, or is it going to be defense in the draft?
Yeah, I think they've learned their lesson. There's going to be a philosophy change, but it's not going to be from one extreme to the other. They're not going to go from the dollar store approach to taking a guy in the first round. Even if Bowers is there at 18, which I don't think he will be, if there's one of those tackles that they like at that spot, I don't know if they value the position enough to go first round. Back a dozen so years ago, they did it with Gresham and Eifert in pretty close drafts. You're not as tight end dependent when you've got Jamar Chase, and it would be nice to have a guy like that. But I think second, third, even fourth round, you can get a solid guy, develop them, and put him in there. I think they're going to do everything they can to bring Tanner Hudson and Drew Sample back. And I don't know that they're going to go all in on someone like Brock Bowers when they have so many other needs, but they cannot do what they did last year and just totally skimp on the position, skip it completely in the draft, sign a guy with injury history for $1 million and hope for a big gamble there to pay off. I do think a lesson was learned from that last year.
As far as the run game, Joe Mixon's future with the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously second worst run game in football. Joe Mixon wasn't the worst season in the world, but obviously there was just no depth when it came to the run game. Have we seen the last of Joe Mixon in Cincinnati? What is your vibe as far as the future of him and the future of, you want to talk about, their approach to fixing the run game heading into next season as well?
Yeah, I think it might depend on Joe. I don't think there's any way they're going to pay him $8.9 million, which is what he's due. So it's going to come down to asking him to take another pay cut. They're not going to be able to string it out like they did last year and announce it in July. He's due $3 million on, I believe, March 16th. It's like the third day of the new league year. So they've got to make that call pretty early, because that $3 million he would be due would be guaranteed. Would he be willing to take another pay cut 2 years in a row? And it's kind of a hit to the ego. Maybe not. I don't know. Joe won't talk to me. He hasn't talked to me for about a year. He was pretty adamant about that last year. And so I don't know what he's thinking there, but I'd be surprised. I think there's a desire to move on from him. They're thankful for what he's been for him, but they really want to get more explosive in the run game. And he's been good for tough yards and not fumbling and dependable and all that, but the explosive part of his game is behind him, and that's the direction they need to go.
Last thing, Jay, at least for me, obviously one of the biggest changes as of late, obviously Dan Pitcher being named the new offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. And look, it's easy to say, well, OC doesn't matter for the Bengals. Zach Taylor's the one with doing the play calling and everything. With losing Callahan, what's the biggest concern about losing Callahan and how that can disrupt the flow of the offense? And is there any concern of that? And obviously Dan Pitcher, a favorite, especially from Joe Burrow. He was very respected amongst the organization and was kind of an easy guy just to slide into that position there. Just talk about how that went about with losing Callahan, getting Pitcher in there. And how much does this change the offense, if at all, for the Bengals? It seems like it shouldn't. You have a guy that's been a part of the organization for a while, especially through the Zach Taylor era. He's very involved in the offense, and ultimately it's still Zach Taylor's offense, still Zach Taylor calling the plays. Is this really a big deal at all as far as the transition from Callahan to Pitcher, in your opinion?
No, I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but I do think it can help because Zach and Brian, they joke all the time about how they share a brain. That's good in some regards, but it's not so good. You want a fresh set of ideas, a fresh set of eyes on these things. And I think Pitcher will provide that. He's had input in the past, but these guys kind of know where they sit in the pecking order of things. I think he's going to be a lot more vocal and push for maybe some more changes and stuff that before just weren't the case because Brian and Zach did see the things the same. And I think last year, we saw they wanted to do some things differently in the go under center more, and all that got thrown out the window when Burrow hurt his calf and he just wasn't able to backpedal. And So I do think it's not going to be a vastly different offense with major changes, but I do think you're going to see some tweaks here and there. And just the job they did to play into Browning's strengths when he came in, you can do that with Burrow or with anybody on that offense and say, hey, at this game plan against this opponent, we think this is going to work. And they tweak things a little more than they have in the past. And I think Fitch is a rising star in this league. And it was a great, great hire.
You know, Jay, you brought him up a little bit ago. Jake Browning, he's got to be like one of the most important members of the football team, considering, you know, Joe Burrow's constantly hurt. Obviously, he missed this past season. He always seems to miss some time in there. You know, it's great to have a quality backup quarterback like that. What's his contract situation with the Bengals?
Yeah, you talk about the team having leverage. He is an exclusive rights free agent, which means the Bengals can say, okay, Jake, we're going to offer you the league minimum and you have to take it.
Wow, really?
If they tender him the league minimum offer, he is not allowed to negotiate with anybody else. So that he's here this year for sure.
Wow. I've never heard that rule before.
Yeah, there's unrestricted free agents that can go anywhere. There's restricted free agents,
right,
where the team can tender you an offer, but you're still free to negotiate elsewhere. And then if you do sign elsewhere, the team gets a compensatory pick.
Right.
If exclusive rights free agents are just stuck, if the team wants to tender them any kind of offer. Now the Bengals don't have to go for the league minimum, but knowing them, they probably will. And they could reward him with a little bit more for what he did for the team. I don't know but by rule, they can say, here's the league minimum, which I believe will be about $870,000, and you either take it or you don't play in the league.
Wow.
He seems really like them sweets. Maybe he can work out a sweet deal. Just all right. Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, covers your Cincinnati Bengals. Awesome enough to give us some time. Jay, thank you so much. We appreciate anytime you give us, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin and Kev.
Later.
All right, good stuff. Wow, a lot to unpack there. Joe Mixon. Probably seen the last of him in Cincinnati, unless he takes the pay cut, but it seems like there might be a whole desire to just start fresh in the run game as far as that's concerned. Yes, I wasn't confident they were going to move on from T to begin with, but now I'm even way less confident. Like, they're not. Like, T will be a Bengal in 24. The thing is, tagging him is not an aggressive move, and the Bengals aren't an aggressive franchise. I do think the biggest takeaway from him, I think them not going all in on prioritizing the tight end position is just weird to me. Like, I know you have Jamar Chase, but like, you also having a good elite tight end is a nice fallback. I mean, the Chiefs made it work with Kelsey and Tyreek when he was there. It's not like you can't do both. Mm-hmm. I just think that's a dangerous approach. Look around the league. The Bills made sure to go get a tight end in last year's draft. Like, look at the teams in the Super Bowl. They have elite tight ends. All right, look at the Ravens, elite tight end. The Browns have an elite tight end. The Steelers, they prioritize the tight end position. So I think that, to me, if I'm a Bengals fan, I'd be a little concerned about, especially when he said if Bowers is there, you're going to give up. If, let's say, Bowers is there, you pass on Bowers to draft an offensive lineman. When's the last time you've proven you could draft an offensive lineman? Cincinnati? Very, very weird, but they have to, because financially, it's a lot of money in that O-line. They need some answers quickly in that O-line that they can cheapen that up a little bit when it's all said and done.
Indeed. I mean, my biggest thing really wasn't the Stample. I like him. I think he's a quality. He's a good player in the league. The Irv Smith thing for me was just like, what are you doing? Like, they just threw away $1 million with that. You threw it away. He's not a good blocking tight end. He's average at catching the ball. Oh yeah, and he's always hurt. That was just a complete like, what are you doing? What are you doing move with that Irv Smith thing? I was ugh.
All right, good stuff. Bengals fans, what you think? Leave your opinions in the comment section. Concerning or not about Jay's thoughts on the Bengals' approach to the tight end position. Joe Mixon, potentially have seen the last of him in Cincinnati. Their approach to the run game, the tight end position, as we talked about, obviously going to prioritize in the first round with their first round pick. It looks like they're going to go kind of boring with it and go with the O-line, and they better not. I mean, I guess if Browning would have led him to the playoff, I would have had a harder time with them kind of sticking it to him. But that's messed up. That is pretty messed up. But they want to be cutthroat, with the lesser guys. But, I don't know. That's kind of messed up. It really is. But,
it is.
But I get why If you could have an elite backup quarterback for super cheap.
For the league minimum, dude.
That's disrespectful. But then again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, he kept you in. I mean, think back to that Minnesota Vikings game. Like, that's the game that, like, everybody was like, oh, wait, this dude can actually play some ball here. The league minimum. And he can't do anything about it. Like, you know, normally when we hear about, like, oh, man, the player can't do anything about it, either signs this franchise tag or not. All right, man, he's going to get paid, you know, $20-something million. Hey, all right, well, good prize to have if you got to take it. But, I mean, when we hear the league minimum and then we hear how much it is, we don't feel so much sorry for these dudes. But, like, just the thought of, like, hey, man, I could be a free agent and I can go be the backup with the Colts or something like that. Or I could be a backup or with somebody else and make, you know, $3 million. You're going to give me the league minimum. And, I mean, judging by history, he's going to play.
Great organization.
Gosh.
We'll be right back. It's Kenner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Hold up. I'm going to do this tease real quick for you.
Oh.
How about this? Be thinking about this.
Hey, man.
So Drew Barrymore said she's about to get off dating apps because she was catfished by a guy that pretended to be the Rams quarterback.
No.
Yeah. See?
Come on, Drew. Come on.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Staples stores provide innovation for small business, remote workers and learners, even teachers and parents. Explore more at your local Staples store.
Psst, hey, Mark, remember, getting help from Progressive is so easy. You can use the mobile app, chat with us online, or call us.
And you pick now to tell me.
I couldn't miss Little Grace's ballet recital. Oh, thanks for inviting me, by the way.
Did I?
Because you know I'm always here for you.
Yeah. I can use the mobile app if I need help. Sorry, you're in my wife's seat, though.
Oh, yeah, I gotta go anyway. Tell Grace she nailed her chassé.
Get the help you need from Progressive with our mobile.
60 seconds. So what are you doing? What are you doing with that Irv Smith thing? I was
You either.
Good stuff. I think there. Joe Mixon, like franchise. I do think going all in.
The league minimum with minimum. You
work out a sweet. Have to give us some talk. Talk soon. Thank you.
Nothing and Gav.
Later.
I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at gawon'twait.com. That's gawon'twait.com.
Wake up. Breakfast. And Nature Made vitamins. Whatever your morning sounds like, Nature Made fits right in. Whether you're looking for vitamin C or a multivitamin to get key nutrients, we've got you covered. Now that's a good morning. We take care of you so you can take on your day. Start your day with Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin and supplement brand. Based on a survey of pharmacists who recommend branded vitamins and supplements.
It's game day at Jim's house, and the spread is impressive.
Mike's already done some damage with the hot wings, and now he's dropping back and going deep for another slice of pizza.
I sure hope he brought the Pepto.
Mike knows that Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief from unexpected stomach upsets. He's no rookie.
The way he's throwing back those nachos, he's the GOAT.
Be ready for game day with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Are you in need of a notary?
Your Montgomery County Clerk of Court's office now offers a free online notary.
This service does require a camera.
Next time you need a notary, go to courthousetoyou.com and click Online Notary to submit your request. You can get it done right in your own home or office.
Did we mention there's no cost to you?
This is a free service brought to you by Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts.
Strong enough for a Mastiff, gentle enough for a Chihuahua. Invisible Fence brand is more than a fence with hands-on training and exclusive solutions to give your pet more room to run. Learn more at invisiblefence.com.
This is weird.
What's up?
Drew Barrymore catfished by a man pretending to be the Rams quarterback. Kev, who's the Rams quarterback?
Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford. Never heard of him? Pam, you listening? You know who Matthew Stafford is. So, again, article, just scrolled past this. Outkick shared it a little bit ago. No one is safe from the horrors of online dating. Not even former A-list celebrities like Drew Barrymore.
Former. Goodness gracious.
I guess on Friday's episode of the Drew Barrymore show, the actress said that she's about to get off these dating apps after being catfished by a man pretending to be an NFL player. Apparently, the guy messaged her first, Kev, saying that he was the quarterback for the Rams.
Slide them DMs.
Yeah, well, I guess she said it sounded promising. So Barrymore wrote back, "Oh my God, I went to the first practice game." This is a real story, folks. I've came across two different versions of this. It's all the same. All right. And apparently she told the guy that, you know, she was a frustrated girl from Los Angeles who loved football because back when she lived there, they didn't have any teams. She moves to New York, then they get two teams over there. So again, first of all, Matthew Stafford's a quarterback. And like this guy was pretending to be the starting quarterback for the Rams. I don't know if he was actually using the name Matthew Stafford or just saying, I mean, they had to got names, right? Like, yeah. And okay, let's just say he, for one, used the actual name Matthew Stafford, right, or made up another name and said he's like, don't you think she would Google him? Like, bing, 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 what are we doing? After embarrassing herself, Barrymore learned that he was a catfish. It's worded weird. He was not the quarterback for the Rams, she said. He's a musician that thought he was being cute. So there's that.
Goodness gracious. For $2 American, name 2 Drew Barrymore movies.
50 First Dates.
That's one.
Because that's the vibe I'm getting from her right now. She's a little forgetful, you know?
It's one.
I don't know another one.
Scream.
She was in Scream? I love Scream.
Goodness. She's the first
victim in the shower. Yeah. Okay.
E.T.
I watched E.T. as a kid, but I didn't like pay attention to
Firestarter.
Nope.
Cat's Eye.
She got catfish, dude. Don't even know what Cat's Eye is.
It's another one. She's in that one baseball movie with
Anger Management. Nope, that's not her.
No, that's not her.
Hold on, maybe it is. With Adam Sandler. Hey, help us out in the chat. Is the movie Anger Management?
She's not in that. I'm not sure she's in that.
Who's the blonde chick that's with Adam Sandler in Anger Management? Nope, that's not it. You're right. It's not. I'm way off.
She's in Fever Pitch with
Fever Pitch. There we go.
Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, I'm done here. Why do you do this to me? First of all, why do you you ask these questions? Like, oh, have you seen this movie? You know, I ain't seen half these damn movies. And then I try to get in the conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, she's in this movie. Nah, wrong. Oh well. You know what? Let's go to Shaw. We haven't talked to Shaw in a while. What up, Shaw? Celebrated any more cheating teams lately? No, I'm just giving you a hard time. What's up? It's been a while since we've let you call in.
Yeah, I don't need to celebrate more cheating teams. I just celebrate the one that won the national championship.
You admit it finally. Great.
No, they didn't cheat. They won. It's called a national championship. Look it up.
the cheating team won the national championship. But that's besides the point. Let's actually let you get through a phone conversation without hanging up on you.
Or him cussing.
We did the last time, remember? We talked about the national championship.
Let's not make it a habit.
Anyhow, let me go to the topic of the day since it would be smart to talk about
anger management. Drew Barrymore.
She wasn't in that.
I know.
Never been kissed, maybe, but not.
Yes.
Shaw dropping the chick flicks on the show.
Yes,
makes a lot of sense.
I am married.
You know.
But anyhow, I agree with 99.9% of what you're saying, Kenner.
Ooh.
I know, shocking. I know.
It's a good day.
Yeah. Question for both of you, actually, more than a statement. What costs more to franchise tag, a defensive back or a safety?
Well,
I'm asking. I really don't know. I'm asking.
Well, they're the same position, but if you mean a corner or a safety,
not defensive back. Sorry, I said that wrong. That's my bad. A slot defensive back or a safety. How about that?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't
know that one either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a good question. But I would imagine a safety. I would imagine. I'm not sure. Because I would go with a safety because Minka's highly paid. Jesse Bates just got paid. Simmons from Denver is paid. Derwin James is paid. So yeah, I would go with safety. I'm probably wrong, but I would say safety.
Okay. Just follow me along here. What if, going along with what Kenner said earlier in the show, we cut T. Higgins or let him go, let him walk, whatever, don't franchise tag him, whatever. Franchise tag Hilton and go from there.
Nah.
How old's Hilton?
Hilton's got to be about 29.
I don't think he's old, but he's not like a guy. But like that's what Shaw's saying. That if you tag him, but does it make it cheaper than paying Hilton, and then you let the 22 or 21 whatever go? Look, like no, trust me, Shaw. Like there's all these like cheaper avenues to go down. I just don't think
Mike Hilton is 29. Yeah, he's 29.
Yeah, you can still get another couple good years out of him, but they're still not going to extend him.
And I agree with you too. Instead of extending him, go after him. So now you have your slot corner. And you can do all the things you do with him. You got Dax in the back. That's kind of where you and I disagree. I think the defense makes a step up next year. This was the first year Dax Hill started at safety because you had the two guys that they lost in the last off season, so he had to start at safety, which is where they drafted him. But he was playing outside corner some. He was playing slot corner some, yada, yada, yada. So this was the first year he played safety. Yeah, he had some ups. He had some downs. But with it being the first year, I think next year he makes a step up. You could maneuver it around, make a move for linebacker, make a move for the other safety, and draft defensive lineman, yada, yada, yada. If you get a free agent to come from on the defensive line, there it is. On the offensive side, I think you let Mixon go. I think you let T. Higgins go. Draft one of these wide receivers that's there that will be available second, third round. And I'm with you, guys. I'm with both of you. If Bowers is there and you don't take him, that would be malpractice in my book. But
yeah, and like when I say this isn't me going at Jay. Jay is Jay's covered this team for so long. Like he knows their antics. So I'm not ripping what Jay said. When Jay said that, I was like, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. Not what Jay, not Jay saying it, but like he's repeating what their philosophy is. If Bowers is there, and I'll be shocked if he's there at 18, but then again, we know how important wide receivers are. The fact that not one receiver was taken until like pick 22 last year, that surprised me. I was surprised that pass catchers dropped into the 20s last year, considering how important they are in today's NFL. If he does drop to 18 or wherever the Bengals are and they don't take him and they take an offensive lineman after proving they don't know what the hell they're doing, that is just insane to me. It's absolutely embarrassing to me. They like Bowers. You don't let Bowers go. But to be fair, we said this about Mayer last year, and how good was he? I mean, I didn't hear his name at all this season. The tight end from Notre Dame that everyone was saying.
Raiders.
The Bengals last year, their fans they need to trade up to get him. They need to get him. I remember saying, I don't want the Bengals to get him. What I don't want is I don't want Joe Burrow to get a tight end. Once Joe Burrow gets a tight end, he becomes even more dangerous than what he already is. He will be more dangerous with an elite tight end than he is with an elite Jamar Chase. And that's
what he did.
Yeah.
What he did 2 years ago with a tight end.
And that wasn't even an elite one. That was just a good, you know what I mean? Like, so
Right.
that's just strange to me if they do that.
My thing is that Bowers is there, and I agree with you. I don't think he'll be there either because he'll be taken off the board. You're getting 2 for 1. You're getting a wide receiver, but you're also getting a good blocker. He's a great in-line blocker. A lot of their running schemes, and it's kind of the same thing with Michigan running that the 2-gap duo scheme, where you're pinning and the pin and pulls. Where we're getting in the weeds here, but you crash down and then he can leak out and do a lot of the Travis Kelce stuff. I agree with you there. Burrow gets way, way, way more dangerous with an elite tight end. But I don't know. I think there's maneuverability, but going back to something that you have said for over 4 years, Kenner, and man, this whole phone call is making me sick, but they're just not aggressive enough. They do all the moves they think they have to do to get by, but they don't make that just giant leap and say, you know what, we're going to go all in with this right here.
The last time they were aggressive, Shaw, look what happened. They got to a Super Bowl. I think taking Jamar over Sewell, considering where they were. Now, people could say, no, they made the right thing. They made the right decision. They got to a Super Bowl. No one in their right mind thought a team that won 4 games the year before was just one piece away from getting to a Super Bowl. And it was a lot of pieces in that draft that helped them get there. Don't get me wrong. But like, for instance, someone said, Chad Kinster on Facebook said, to be fair, Kenner, you said the same thing about drafting Chase over Sewell. I'm here to tell you, had they drafted Sewell, that still would have been a hell of a draft pick. Like, you didn't go wrong with Chase, but you wouldn't have gone wrong with Sewell either. That was kind of a wash. But when they were aggressive and they went with the best player over their number one need, it actually got them to a Super Bowl. They need to go back to that. They need to go back to being aggressive, because it's being aggressive with those type of skill players right there. That's really what elevates you. But we'll see what they do. But we already know what they're going to do.
The weird part about all this, though, is it kind of, again, proving you right, though, in that draft. The weird part about it is they didn't have as many holes then as they do now. I believe they have more holes this draft, than what they had at that point. So that allowed them. I agree with you that they were aggressive getting the wide receiver over the offensive lineman, because I agreed with you then too. Penny should have been the pick, and now we look it's 50-50. But I think there's way more holes, especially on the defensive side of the ball this year, because one could argue just as bad as corner or safety is a need for them. Defensive line is a huge hole, especially interior defensive line and linebackers. But what do I know? I'm a Michigan fan, so.
Well, I'm bored. You're agreeing with me, and that just bores me to tears. So, but no, thank you for the call, Shaw. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Go Blue.
Whoa. Watch it.
Speaking of blue, how about powder blue? Did you see?
I saw that.
Well, Cheater Harbaugh was introduced as the new coach of the Chargers. Looks kind of weird. Looks kind of odd.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, staying in Detroit.
Wow. Didn't see that one coming.
Apparently, he was going out and asking for a lot of money. I don't blame him. And that's Adam Schefter said he was a little too aggressive with the asking price out there. And ultimately, I think he's just in one of those I think as long as he's part of that Lions come up, he's going to be a hot commodity every year. And eventually a team's going to get desperate enough to hire him. I'm surprised the team didn't. But apparently, what is it? It's the OC for the Cowboy, or the DC for the Cowboys. Why am I trying to blame Dan Quinn? I almost called him Campbell. That's why I was like stopping myself. I guess he just had his second interview with Washington. Interesting nonetheless.
Because when that news broke, it kind of took a segment out the show that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, with 2 jobs still being available, the Seahawks and the Commanders, it was basically 5 guys out there for 2 jobs. Who was going to get that job? Belichick, Eric Bieniemy, Vrabel. It was going to be Ben Johnson, but he's not on the list anymore. And Dan Quinn, so who's going to be left without a chair, basically?
Belichick.
Well, there's going to be 2 dudes left without a chair.
Oh, you didn't include him. My bad.
Belichick, Eric Bieniemy, Vrabel, Quinn. 2 of those dudes not going to have a job. Well, a head coaching job, at least.
The Bieniemy thing is weird. I still think going to Washington was a mistake. I get why he wanted to go take an OC job elsewhere, but like there was nothing there waiting for you at all, unless that was the point of maybe he was gambling on the fact that he would be the head coach in waiting. But that backfired big time on him. But no team's going after him. Look, I get there are a lot of sympathetic people when it comes to, okay, why doesn't he have a job and stuff? But man, when the whole league is just not even trying with you, like it has to be something more than what we originally thought maybe had to do with an underlying issue. And I'm not saying that wasn't an issue. I'm just saying there seems to be more. I don't know why teams keep him at an arm's length. Obviously, he's had a weird past and he rubs players the wrong way at times, but Super Bowl champion OC. I mean, anyone that even looks like they know anything about offensive football, they're being hired as head coaches today. So who knows? But the Belichick thing fascinates me. He will not be hired in Seattle. If you were going to keep an old legendary coach, you wouldn't have moved on from Pete Carroll. So he will not be the coach in Seattle. In Washington just seems weird. I don't know. I see Belichick taking a TV deal and then doing, I read the other day, the Giants and Cowboys are kind of two jobs he's really keeping an eye on as far as that's concerned. We'll see what happens with him, but you know,
my prediction for this is the Seahawks get somebody that we're not talking about, probably maybe an offensive coordinator from one of the championship teams. I don't think you go to Dan Quinn because he was already there. Like he was the DC for the Legion of Boom. Why would you keep the same situation rolling that you had with Pete Carroll? Like if you're gonna keep it the same, you should just kept Pete. Basically for the same reasons. I don't think Belichick is going there. I don't think Vrabel's going there either. I think Quinn ultimately ends up with the Commanders. I'm just not sure where the Seahawks end up with their head coach situation. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. I think they're going to go offensive head coach though.
Offensive head, yeah, and that seems to be what everyone's doing in the league. Everyone right now, even quarterback coaches getting moved up to OCs because ultimately they're just being positioned to then be moved up if things don't go well, as far as that's concerned.
And what about the rumors about, Eric Bieniemy being the head coach of the Chiefs with all the rumors going around about that situation?
And he's still not out of it. He's still not out of the head coaching conversation. I mean, he's still in the head coaching conversation. If you're Seattle, why don't you kick the tires on that as well? You need to get an offensive mind in there. He's at least a proven name that could go in there. Imagine what he can come up with when you have those, those elite wide receivers and playmakers. I know DK is being rumored as a potential trade piece, but even then you still have two really good pieces left behind when it's all said and done anyways over there in Seattle. So that's wild when it's all said and done. What else did you have football wise? Because I had something else to slide over to. But no, we'll keep an eye on that. We'd also never talked about, were we on the air when Michigan named? Was that made over the weekend? I never remember what news breaks. I never know what day it is half the time with the new coach at Michigan, Sharon Moore, as expected. We talked about maybe they go in a different direction. Maybe they want to, kind of wipe their hands clean of anyone associated with the cheating scandal to maybe get some leniency from the NCAA. That's obviously not the case. Sharon Moore, kind of not a surprise. Kind of like this T. Higgins thing. Like we know there's some options, but we don't think they're actually going to go. They're just going to go with the path of least resistance. That's what they did with Sharon Moore. Surprising. It's not surprising, but surprising just because it's a gamble. I just think he's going to be the guy that they cut ties with if they absolutely have to. It's a dangerous job for him, in my opinion.
I'll take off my Ohio State fandom cap for a split second and say congratulations. Obviously well deserved.
I'm not.
Buckeye hat back on. I'll still stand on like this was a no-brainer for the University of Michigan to offer him the job. Like obviously he knows what he's doing. I mean, he coaches the offensive line. He's the play caller. He's the reason that they were able to make it to the national championship game. He kept those guys together because we could talk about how much Harbaugh and his influence over him, which is obviously still there, but he still had to go out there and keep the guys engaged through that Penn State game. He still had to go out there and coach the guys up and call the plays during the Ohio State game. He still was the guy in charge of those. So for him, I think it's as simple as fact as that's definitely a gamble for him. I believe that because, you have this lottery ticket in your hand. It's either cash out with this school right here or, go be an assistant somewhere else. And then hopefully you're still that hot commodity the next go round. Like he's not in a situation where he is a Bob Stoops or Urban Myers. So every time somebody's fired from a school, his name's brought up. Like his name is hot right now, and it's only really one coach opening for him to take. So I don't necessarily knock him for taking it. I don't blame him for taking it. He's getting paid a lot of money to be the head coach of a story program.
Well, that story might be kind of short because I'm not saying he's getting fired after 1 year, but man, like it's going to be a brutal year. Like I would be saying this no matter what the schedule looked like, but when you add what the schedule looks like on top of it, we've talked about what Michigan's schedule looks like this. Sharon Moore, oof, I'm going to need more help because you got Texas, you got USC. All right, you got to play Washington, which it doesn't look like as bad of a game.
Rewind. I'll do the schedule game. Go from the top. Go from the tippy top.
I wish we had their little you know what? Just because it would put some winners music behind it, or just
winners music. Yeah. Winners music.
Well, you know what? I'm limited, and I don't really have anything in front of me at the moment, so we'll just put some music behind it, nonetheless. All right. So the Sharon Moore era at Michigan, the Cheater Moore, Fresno State
win
in Ann Arbor, August 31st.
Win.
Texas in Ann Arbor,
loss,
September 7th. By the way, if you're a season ticket holder, you're gonna watch a lot of good football teams. It just may not be your own, but there's a lot. I mean, imagine being a Michigan season ticket holder. When we get through this whole schedule, it's pretty wild how many great teams they have coming in. So they have Texas and Ann Arbor. Okay, I mean, my God, the first five games are all in Ann Arbor. Anyways, so Fresno State, Ann Arbor, week 1. You said a win.
Win.
Texas, week 2,
loss.
Ann Arbor, and Arkansas State, Ann Arbor, week 3,
win.
USC, Ann Arbor, week 4,
win.
What really?
Yes. Come on, man.
Come on, man. What? Michigan's going to be horrible, and it's USC.
No.
I don't know what this Sharon Moore thing you have going on, but oof.
They still can't play defense, and they'll shorten the game, and they'll win.
I'm a better Buckeye fan than you. All right, Minnesota, Ann Arbor, week 5.
Win.
Finally hitting the road. They'll take on Washington, week 6.
Win.
Champaign, Illinois, week 7.
Win.
What the hell? All right. Michigan State, Ann Arbor.
Win.
Oregon.
Loss.
Indiana.
Win.
All right. We'll go with Northwestern.
Win.
And Ohio State.
Loss.
Might as well give them a win. This new man crush you have on Sharon Moore. What do you have them at?
8-3.
They ain't winning 8 games. I'm going to say 5 games.
I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong.
Oof. But, man, okay. Man, but if there's 8-3 with that schedule, I guess they'll get a cute little bowl game. Are they a playoff team?
No.
I didn't know you knew the word no. Or knew the word loss. I'm shocked.
So out of the 8-3, you only had one more loss on there. You only had them losing to USC.
I didn't give my opinion on any of these.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, it's not about that. I just mean like the USC one. I'm just
Come on, man. I
wonder if the Vegas odds are out on some of these at this point. It's hard because you don't even know what the hell the rosters are going to look like. But
I'll put $10 on that game that Michigan wins that game.
And if Ben was watching, he'd be so happy with you.
I will put $10 on that, dude. Like, come on, man.
Steelers fan, how do you feel about Arthur Smith?
I like it. I don't love it.
Who did you want? Was there a name you were like, come on, go that direction?
So this is difficult because as much as I think I know football, I don't know football like that.
Obviously, 5 for Michigan. I'm joking. Sorry, Arthur Smith, OC in Pittsburgh, loves the run game.
I like it. I don't love it, but I like it. I like it for a lot of reasons. I don't like it. I'll start with the reasons I don't like it. I don't like it because was stale with the Falcons. Bijan Robinson, you spent the first round pick on him, and he averaged like about 11 touches a game, which is like crazy. Like, all right, wait. So you're going to tell me that our number one running back, Najee Harris, is only going to touch the ball 12 times? That seems a bit odd. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But the reason I like it is because he got Tannehill. He was his OC and quarterback coach for when he resurrected his career with the Titans. Derrick Henry was a sledgehammer with them. We have a sledgehammer running back. It's a lot of play action, a lot of deep shots. His offense opens up one-on-one matchups with wide receivers. He schemes things open. You look at Atlanta Falcons, they had the lowest completion percentage of all quarterbacks in the NFL. So they're not hitting their wide receivers. So are you going to be able to coach up these guys in our room? Fingers crossed that you are. I don't hate it. I like it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, again, that was news that came by. And by the way, social media reaction, it's split. You either really like it or you really hate it. You're kind of the in-between one. But these are the hires so far at offensive coordinators. The Eagles got Kellen Moore. That was an interesting one. I know the Browns were looking at it, but
he's pass happy.
He's a guy that calls plays.
Pass happy.
When you have those receivers, A.J. Brown and Smith and them, like, you better, but at the same time, balance. I mean, it's all about balance. Zach Robinson going to the Falcons, Shane Waldron to the Bears, Joe Brady to the Bills. Not to the Bills. He just got that position. Joe Brady is the guy that worked all the magic at LSU back in the day with the old Joey B. Ken Dorsey to the Browns. That's the one that
former Browns quarterback.
I'm kind of like you with this one. I'm like, there's a reason he got fired from the Bills. He couldn't work magic with Josh Allen. So he's
fits in. He got a little pass happy as well.
Well, the thing is, the reason I'm not going to overreact to this because it kind of doesn't matter. It kind of matters.
Right.
It's like what we talked about with Jay Morrison earlier about the new OC in Cincinnati and with Callahan leaving. Unless Callahan was his offense and his play calling that was the secret sauce to the Burrow Bengals success, then it's not a problem to me. And so Stefanski, Browns fans are so obsessed with taking the play calling responsibilities out of his hand. That man was he made that work with 4 quarterbacks this season. He's done it with Baker. He's done it with Deshaun. He's done it with Joe Flacco. He did it with P.J. Walker and DTR. Oofa. Apparently he stinks because he couldn't get it done with who was the quarterback that he got they got destroyed by the Bengals with that last week.
Driscoll.
That was pitiful at the end of the day.
I mean, this must be a theme for the state of Ohio. I mean, they obviously want Coach Day to stop calling plays too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's. Yeah, I just don't get that. Bengals fans want Zach Taylor to give it up.
It's low hanging fruit,
Zach
man.
Taylor does a great job.
It's low hanging fruit, man. When a play actually doesn't work, terrible play call, or they have a guy on the other side of the ball trying to stop you. It kind of happens.
Other news: Tennessee is under NCAA investigation for potential NIL violations. Apparently, these the fallout could be severe.
Not a shocker. Anybody read that report from the NCAA when Florida State got slapped on the wrist? They said they have screenshots of head coaches in the DMs of players. Obviously, Coach Prime got slapped on the wrist last week. I guess Tennessee, you're up.
With that, so it's interesting you say that. So apparently today, Downs, Caleb Downs, said that when he entered the portal, Bill Bender tweeted this out earlier. When he entered the portal, he says the portal is recruiting on steroids. He said he got in one day, Kev, and if you've seen it, you'll probably know. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
102 calls in one day. First of all, I think it's adorable that the number one player from our class is available in 102 schools that they had a chance to get him. But money makes you think that you have a shot. I guess that's like why you see ugly guys with hot women. Money makes you think you have a shot. That's the owner of the Raiders and all that. So, I mean, like, it's always interesting to me. So 102 teams called Downs the day he entered the portal in one day. 102. He said the portal is recruiting on steroids.
I think only 20 teams even had a remote shot. Not even 20. I would probably say like 10 schools. Obviously, Ohio State, Georgia, probably LSU, Texas, USC, Michigan. Not sure if anybody else really stood a chance. Like when you're a player like Caleb Downs, you are a first-team All-American as a true freshman. As an 18-year-old freshman, you are a first-team All-American. Making plays. He's not here to, all right, let me just go to the highest bidder. He's here to win something. He's here to win something because he's going to get paid regardless. He's going to get paid NIL dollars regardless of what school he goes to. Maybe, you gave him an extra $100,000. He's going to get paid. And then he's going to get paid again when he goes to the NFL because he's going to be a first-round pick. He's not here to be, hey, man, hey, UCLA, what's going on? Oregon State, what's popping? Arizona, hey, man, I want to take a tour of your campus. Why are you calling? Blocked.
On 102 calls.
Oh, dude.
I mean, I get 102 calls in a day, but usually it's like, as you know.
Send this air check?
Yeah, that. Hey, I was wondering if you go. Yeah, never mind.
Hey, can you cut the spec spot for me?
How about this?
It's been a day, Kenner.
Steph Curry and Sabrina Ionescu will go head-to-head in the first ever NBA versus WNBA three-point challenge.
I love this.
I think it's pretty cool.
This is going to be cool, man. I mean, the best shooter in the NBA versus the best shooter in the WNBA. She's already announced that she's going to be shooting from the NBA's three-point line as well. She has the range. I'm here for it. All we need to do is, hey, next year, just think next year, Caitlin Clark's going to be playing.
I'll be impressed when they do a dunk contest. You know, there's someone listening say, "Oh, that ain't nothing, man. Do a dunk contest." You know, that would be something. You know? But
Sabrina across up any and everybody who said that.
I've always thought that this was smart to do it this way. They don't do it anymore, but back in the day, they used to would do like teams, and they would have like a WNBA legend and NBA legend and a current player or something like they would. And it was cool. You'd see Cynthia Cooper come back and Cheryl Swoops, and just Lisa Leslie and some others. I always like that little crossover.
Yes.
They need to do more stuff like that. This is the start of it, especially with Caitlin Clark coming in, getting Angel Reese involved and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool when that stuff came out. So, but yeah, I'm just kind of going through. I mean, there's so much that we've had to catch up on. I feel like we did a show yesterday, right?
We did. It's only Tuesday. Don't worry.
No, it's only Tuesday. Let's see. There was something else I had tagged on here, and maybe that was it. We have all day tomorrow, too, to get into some stuff.
All day tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's wheels up for you, boy. It's wheels up.
By the way, we got a lot of help on our Drew Barrymore movies earlier, by the way.
That's enlightened, Kenner.
That was pretty funny as far as that. But Drew Barrymore, what's wrong with you? Getting catfished like that. What the hell's wrong with you? Okay.
Yeah, okay, so they still have the show Catfish, and I'm still curious, like, how can people still get catfish in 2024? Just Google.
We all want love, Kev. We all want love. But that's what I'm saying with her. You're Drew freaking Barrymore. And the guy texted you saying, I'm the quarterback of the Rams. You don't think to maybe Google that stuff?
Or doesn't she have, like, people?
Like, you don't think you'll chat with one of your girlfriends? Well, first of all, she tried to say she was a big football fan and said, oh, yeah, I watched the big preseason match the other day or whatever she said. I'm like, that was, first of all, you're a lie. First of all, you just proved you don't know anything about football. And that's totally okay. But calling it a preseason match, saying that the Rams quarterback texted you wanting to date you, you don't know who Matthew Stafford is. His wife has a huge podcast. Hell, everyone should. I mean, come on. If I called my wife right now and said, Matthew Stafford, who is he? She maybe wouldn't say that he's the quarterback of the Rams, but she would at least know, like, okay, that name, that's a name. At least I know that my wife won't get fooled by the quarterback of the Rams. Unbelievable story. But yes, I guess some movies. Wedding Singer.
Ah, yes. Very good one.
Poison Ivy and Charlie's Angels.
Charlie's Angels, I don't think I've seen.
I didn't think she was. Was she Poison Ivy? Which I know there was. I mean, there's quite a few Batman movies.
No, she was. That was Uma Thurman was Poison Ivy.
That was the movie I remember watching as a kid. Loved that one. But yeah, was not her.
No.
Let's see.
Unless there's a movie.
Poltergeist.
Yes.
A League of Their Own. Jeff, he's like, come on. He's like, Jesus, guys.
Wait,
like,
Drew Barrymore was in The League of Their Own?
Yeah, she's a big sports fan.
She wasn't in The League of Her Own.
What a wild show. What a wild show. What is happening right now? Anyways, it's a Kenner and Kev show, 1410 ESPN Radio. If you missed our conversation with Jay Morrison from the Bengals, covers the Bengals, we'll have that coming up in hour 3. Reds Caravan.
Good time.
National Museum of the United States Air Force. We were live out there this past Saturday. And Trace Fowler, shout out to him, by the way. It's his birthday today.
Happy born.
But Trace Fowler and I, we did the live show at the National Museum of the United States Air Force for the Reds Caravan. And Trace got a chance. I sent him with the mic. I didn't feel like getting off the seat. I was like, you go. He went and talked to David Bell. Me and David are close now, but I had Trace do the interview. Trace, I didn't know this. So I guess David Bell is 3 ejections away from setting a record for the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
Sparky Anderson.
Under or over 2.5.
I hope he gets it.
Do it.
I hope he gets it. I mean, nonetheless, but that's what Trace and him talked about. Talked about the depth of the rotation. David Bell, he was laughing and joking just like at Reds Fest. It's like David Bell. It's like, oh, this is fun when you have expectations to win and actually have good players. Like, it's a lot more fun David Bell, if you will. So we have that coming up for you at the top of the hour. And then it is the top of the hour. My clock management skills are pretty bad today. It feels like a Friday. I do not care about it.
It's only Tuesday.
Well, with everything that happened today that pissed me off, I'm just going with the flow. Just going with the flow. Just doing what I want when I want. 8 wins. What is wrong with you? 8 wins. I thought you were supposed to be a Buckeye fan. You got to give Sharon more the benefit of the doubt. 8 wins.
How
you
many
said
they
8-3. You said 8-3, but
8-3.
Sean brought up a good point. We thought 12 games. There's 12 games. So did we miss one?
You named them off, not me.
Well, I probably stopped because I'm tired of you giving them wins. I probably just said enough is enough. Let's just get to all right. Hour 2 done. Hour 3 coming up. Conversation with David Bell from 8-4. Fair enough. Aye. All right. Kidder and Kev, hour 2 wrapping up. Hour 3 coming up. Dayton Flyers in action tonight, as is Ohio State. Now, Dayton, a 12.5-point favorite. Washington at the arena. Not Kev Washington, but Washington.
I might go to the game.
You can go to the game?
Nah, I'm lying. I'm lying. I'm not welcome down there.
You're not welcome down there with guilty by association?
Yes.
That ain't fair.
I know you.
That ain't fair.
Yeah. Kev Nash, Hot 102.9. No, I don't know you from Hot 102.9. I know you from that Kenner and Kev show. Like, yeah, you're not welcome.
But you always you don't dive into that end.
Nah.
But so here's my prediction for tonight. So Dayton's gonna win, but this is what they always do. They're gonna get out to a hot start, and then they're gonna let Washington. They're gonna let George Washington. They're gonna George Washington, not Washington. They're gonna take just Kev Washington. I got my email thrown out. But anyways, so George Washington, UD's gonna get out to a hot start. Then George Washington's going to go on a big run. Dayton's going to go on a little low offensively like they always do. This is the flow of every home game at UD Arena. It never fails. It is the same damn game every time. Dayton gets out, hot start. Deron Holmes for 3, and whatever that guy says whenever he makes a shot, and crowd goes nuts. They're going to go on fire. Deron Holmes with the dunk. All right, the crowd's going to go nuts. And then they're going to go on this long, dull, boring offensive drought. George Washington's going to take the lead, or they're going to be within 1 or 2, and then fans are going to be like, man, this is an ugly half. Man, Dayton's just not playing well. That's just who Dayton is. And then Dayton will hit a couple shots. They'll get some fouls. They'll hit a big 3. They'll take momentum in the locker room, and then they'll come out and dominate the second half. So that's what they do. So that's what I'm predicting for tonight, Kev. That's my prediction.
They win?
Oh, they'll win.
Double digits?
12.5-point favorite. Do you think they cover?
Yeah, 15-point win.
Well, here's an idea. Be a top 25 team and don't let nobodies look like somebody's tonight. That's all. How about Nick Saban out golfing with Travis Scott and 50 Cent today? Yeah.
The rapper?
Yeah.
Travis Scott was just in Columbus last week.
But Nick Saban? Maybe Nick Saban's about to be the new coach?
Analyst. I'm going to break down some film, coach.
We out. Kenner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio, 8-4.
Dang.